Some choices you can forgive, some you can't. And then there are the choices your own mother makes that leave you wondering if you were ever her priority at all. Today you'll hear 3 real stories. Stories of mothers who didn't just fall in love again. They traded their children for new partners, new families, and new lives. Was it survival, love, or betrayal in the name of happiness? You decide. This is Lindsay's story, a daughter who spent her teenage years trying to compete with her mother's new stepchildren and lost.
When I was 13, my mum fell in love with a man named Greg. He was charming, attentive, and had 2 kids, Katie and James, both younger than me. I wanted to like them. I really did. I remember bringing a board game to our first dinner together. I thought it'd break the ice. Katie knocked it off the table without even looking at me. "Baby games," she said. My mum laughed. It was the first time I realized something had shifted, and it wouldn't be the last. Over the next few months, things changed fast. My mum started waking up early to pack special snacks for Greg's kids. She used to braid my hair in the mornings. Now, her hands were always busy with someone else's lunchbox. I asked her if we could have our Friday movie nights again, something that used to be sacred between us. She said, "I'm too tired. Watch something with Katie and James." They didn't want me there, and neither, I started to feel, did she. One night I heard her through the door. She was talking to Greg, saying, "Lindsay's just difficult. She needs to learn how to share." I wasn't angry. I was numb. When they got married, Katie was a junior bridesmaid. I sat in the 3rd row like a neighbor. Our house became their house. My bedroom, the only space I ever felt was mine, became Greg's office. I was moved into the tiny guest room with a broken heater and no window. When I cried, she called me dramatic. When I stopped talking, she didn't notice. At school, I stayed late. I volunteered for things I didn't care about, just to avoid going home. One day, I came home to find the front door locked. Greg had changed the locks for security. They forgot to give me a key. I sat on the porch for 2 hours in the cold. When she got home, she didn't hug me. She said, "You could have called." That night, something in me snapped. I made a plan. I applied to colleges far away, took extra shifts at a cafe to save money. And on the morning of my 18th birthday, I packed what little I owned and left a note on the kitchen counter. "Don't worry, you won't have to share anymore." She never called. 10 years later, I saw her in a grocery store. She looked smaller than I remembered, older, frail. She reached out to hug me. I stepped back. She asked if I wanted to meet her new grandkids. I asked, "Do you even remember my birthday?" She blinked, and then she said something I'll never forget. "Why are you still holding on to the past?" I looked her in the eyes and said, "Because I lived there, alone." She called me selfish. I walked away, and for the first time I didn't cry. I just felt free.
Now meet Jason. At 18, he was thrown out of his own home, not for doing anything wrong, but because his mother's new boyfriend didn't want him there. Years later, she reached out, but by then he'd built a life without her. I turned 18 on a Thursday. On Saturday, my mom handed me a packed duffel bag and said, "It's time to be a man." I thought it was a bad joke, but she wasn't smiling. Keith, her boyfriend, stood behind her, silent, stone-faced, making it clear I wasn't part of the plan anymore. I looked at her, waiting for her to laugh, to say it wasn't real. She didn't. She just said, "Keith thinks it's time. You're an adult. You'll figure it out. And just like that, I was out. I slept in my car that night, woke up with frost on the windshield and a knot in my stomach. I stayed on a friend's couch for a while. Then I found a room above a garage. It smelled like mildew and regret. I stocked shelves at a grocery store by day, cleaned toilets at a diner by night. I ate canned beans and watered-down cereal. I watched from a distance as she built a new family. Vacations, holidays, Facebook photos with cheesy captions like, "Blessed with the best stepkids." Not once did she mention me. When I got my first apartment, I didn't send her the address. When I got promoted, I didn't tell her. When I got married, she wasn't invited. She didn't notice. Then, out of nowhere, a card showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, it said, "I'd love to meet her someday." She meant my daughter. There was no apology. No acknowledgement of the years between. I held that card for an hour. Then I fed it to the shredder. Because when you let someone throw you away, you don't offer them front row seats to your redemption. She chose him, and I chose peace. Finally, there's Natalie, a daughter who believed her mother was saving for her future until she found out where the money really went.
My mom always made a big deal about the college fund. She showed me the account statement when I was 12. "This is for you," she said. "Your ticket out of here." I believed her. So I worked. I studied hard, joined clubs, took AP classes. I never went to parties. I never broke rules. I had one goal, get into my dream school. And I did. I got the acceptance letter, partial scholarship. All I needed was the rest, the money she'd promised. So I asked, and she looked away. She said the money was gone, not stolen, spent. "On what?" I asked. She said, "Your stepfather's business needed a boost. A mobile car detailing business. That failed in 6 months. I remember my legs giving out. I sat on the floor and asked, 'You gave away my future?' She said, 'You're young. You'll figure it out.'" I left that night, slept in my car, ate fast food scraps from the restaurant I worked at. I enrolled in community college, took night classes, worked double shifts. It took me 7 years to finish a 4-year degree. She called once, said I was being cruel, said I was ungrateful. I said, "I'm not ungrateful. I'm just not yours anymore." She never called again, and I haven't looked back.
3 stories. 3 mothers who made their choice, and 3 children who chose not to look back. Would you have done the same? Would you have forgiven? Let us know in the comments. Pick a side, right or so wrong.